Divya, you finished the introduction about law internships. Then I
No,
will
no,
start
I
with the introduction of my vice chancellor, sir.
yes, yes.
And
Now,
just make
start.
sure before your function ends, the Zoom doesn't get switched off, because many times if you have, how much time have you booked for this function?
It's unlimited, ma'am. It's unlimited.
Okay, unlimited. Then good. Then good. Okay. Okay. Because many times I've experienced in the midst of the function, if the organizer has booked for an hour or so, then it gets switched off. Then they again, take permission for extending the time. So all these funny experiences I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We are all adjusting to the
Yeah,
national.
trying to adjust to the new situation. Yeah. Okay.
A very good
And
evening to our judges. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I said I'm ready from my side.
Sure, ma'am. We'll begin. A very good evening to our guests, Honorable Justice Gyanchada Mishra, ma'am, Professor Dr. T.S.N. Shastri, sir, the judges, the participants, the students, the media partners, the viewers, and everyone else present here. I am Divya Jain, the student coordinator at Law Internships and the host for today. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome everyone at the panel for the valedictory ceremony of the National Virtual Moot Court Competition 2020, organized by Law Internships in association with Atharva Legal LLP. Law Internships is an organization that provides internship opportunities in the field of law primarily to the students pursuing undergraduate or postgraduate programs. Law Internships is co-founded by Ms. Sanchita Srivastava with a team of young dynamic persons from the legal fraternity. We assist in providing opportunities for gaining professional experience as well as improving legal skills by being enrolled in a full-time law program. Now, to brief you all about Atharva Legal LLP. Atharva Legal LLP is a full service law firm rendering services in a wide spectrum of areas, including transactional, regulatory, advisory, litigation, and alternative dispute resolution. They have clientele, which includes domestic and international companies, banks and financial institutions, promoter groups, central and state government institutions, domestic and international institutions, regulatory authorities, and public sector undertaken. The firm has built strong, lasting relationships with its clients at both domestic and international level. Now, about briefing you all about the competition. The first edition of the National Virtual Moot Court Competition was conducted virtually, allowing the students to hone their advocacy skills. This competition has attracted 30 teams throughout Pan India, providing an opportunity to the participants to develop the requisite skills for a dynamic process of litigation advocacy. In the past 3 days, the participants actively participated in the preliminary rounds, the octa-final rounds, and the quarter-final rounds, amongst which four teams qualified for the semi-final rounds, which was conducted this morning, and two teams qualified for the final rounds, which was conducted this evening. Now, I would like to give the stage to Mr. Abhishek Castro for the introduction of our guest, Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. T.N.S. Shastri. Over to you, Castro.
Thank you so much, Divya. And good evening to everyone who are witnessing and watching this event. And I'm very much happy to be a part of this event. And my name is Abhishek Castro, Corporate Relation Coordinator of Law Internships, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. And I'm very much happy to be here in this event today. And my respects to Honorable Justice Gyan Sudha Mishra, Madam, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, and I take immense pleasure wherever I am today, whatever I am today. It's all because of the guidance, it's all because of the teachings of my mentor, my Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. T.S.N. Sastry, sir. I want to thank him immediately as soon as we sent the invitation. Sir has accepted to grace and felicitate this National Virtual Moot Court Competition's valedictory ceremony. I thank you, sir, for making your presence in this event. Now, I am very much happy and proud to give introduction to my Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, my mentor, Professor Dr. T.S.N. Sastry, sir. Professor Dr. T.S.N. Sastry, sir, after completing legal education in different universities, started his career as a teacher of law with Indian Society of International Law in 1987. He is one of the senior academicians in the field of law in India. Currently, he is the Vice Chancellor of the Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, Chennai. Since March 2018, he is also the Vice President of the Indian Society of International Law, New Delhi, since May 2018. He authored 4 books on international law of state succession, Introduction to Human Rights and Duties, Human Rights of Vulnerable and Disadvantaged Groups, and Human Rights and Duties in India, Law Policy, Society, and Enforcement Mechanism, edited 4 books on human rights and constitution. He was an academic fellow of European Commission under Faculty Exchange Program, selected under the fierce competition to the prestigious Lund University, Sweden, and Cultural Exchange Fellow of the Government of France. Twice, he has also visited the Vistula University, Varsha, on invitation to present a paper in an international conference. Sir received Best Innovative Teacher Award for 2016 by the Savitribai Phule Pune University. He received Vijaya Shri Award from the Indian International Friendship Society, New Delhi in 2005 for his efforts for the propagation of human rights and education. I take immense pleasure and happy to welcome my mentor, my Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Ambedkar Law University, Professor Dr. T.S.N. Sastry, sir, to deliver the valedictory address. Welcome you, sir.
Well, good evening to one and all. Honorable Justice Madam Gyansudha Mishra, the judges of the Moot Court competition, my student Abhishek Castro, Miss Divya Jain, and other fellow members, participants in the Moot Court competition from various parts of the country, student friends. Indeed, it's a pleasure to always participate in academic events. As Justice Madam said rightly, when we participate in academic events constantly, we are under pressure to participate too many programs also. It's becoming more of a, what I say, in the administration, you lose touch of the academics, but now you are supposed to give academics thanks to COVID. Because otherwise it's not possible. Every time you travel a long distance and participate and too many programs clash, and that brings in various aspects. In fact, Divya and Castro asked me to present in the Moot Court, but tomorrow, since I have to attend a conference in Delhi, Bangalore, I'm right now in Bangalore. And that is the reason why I could not accept your Moot Court thing, judging the Moot Court also, because it's very difficult at the senior level when you are taking into various issues. I'm extremely happy that the COVID has given a very beautiful opportunity if we look at the positive greener side of it. Because unfortunately, we see the news channels only the pandemic situation, and unfortunately nowadays they show the situation that is more aggravant and are more bring in or inculcate, if I say, the younger generation's minds are spoiled by keep on spreading the violent news than the good news that is being given. In news channels nowadays, it is waste to see a news channel. There are 10 people will sit. Then they will ask what Supreme Court is going to do. What this? Who want to bother about somebody's opinion? Whatever Honorable Supreme Court will do, it will do. It has a duty casted on it, it will do. These people will come to conclusion and say, why I'm saying because today there is a grave crisis of legal system, particularly legal education in the country. Legal system is in doldrums because we have more than 300 million cases are pending in every part of the country, right from the Supreme Court to the lowest court. The morning I was seeing the data in the, thanks to the Honorable Supreme Court and the Ministry of Law, that the data is updated every day wise, court wise, state wise. Municipal Magistrate Court to the Supreme Court, the data is criminal, family law, or whatever law you are decided the cases, which is a very fruitful effort to bring in. I am saying this because I think Justice Madam agree, in maybe 30, 40 years back when we were studying LLB or LLM, we didn't have the opportunity of this many moot courts. Only you have a moot court in the college, at the most 1 or 2 moot courts in the year. And it's very difficult because there was no communication to come and participate or to dialogue with. So very few people in cities like Delhi or Mumbai only had the opportunity to participate in moot, but not in other places. But today, it has come to a situation wherein even sitting at home, you can participate in moot thanks to the technology and thanks to COVID, particularly COVID. If we take the COVID-19, we always think of the negative side of it. Well, it is a pandemic. It has created issues. Panic situation was there. But if we look into the disease, dreadedness of the disease, compared to other diseases like cancer or whatever we have, the death rate that is taking place in COVID in the entire world is not even 1/10 of the death rate that we are seeing in the whole world. It is more of exaggeration than the real projection. The real projection should be how you have to follow social distancing, masking, how you yourself caring. That no TV channel shows. It shows police have beaten this, police have done this, police have done this. Then what happens? Because suppose if a judge is listening to a case in virtual, suppose for a technical snag, technology, some 5 minutes it goes out of. Well, the judges are ready to listen. And in fact, virtually recently, one of the honorable judges of Madras High Court was sharing with me, now virtual courts are taxing us. Previously, we used to get out of the bench at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Now at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, also lawyers are willing to argue the cases. That they don't show. They show only the technical snag, the court session is adjourned, and that is focus. Why I'm saying modern lawyers and law students need to thorough with the subject than playing the gimmicks. Unfortunately, most of the students want to pass the examination without writing the exam. This is an unfortunate story. The Bar Council last month has given a caution, and thanks to Supreme Court of India and thanks to various high courts, that you cannot pass an exam without writing an exam. An exception may be, I have also made a pro forma, maybe in the final year student, we can be brought in, taking the average and give it so that he will go out, and if he is not satisfied, he can write the exam. But without writing the exam, passing the exam, demanding for passing the exam without writing the exam is not at all ethical for legal professionals. I hope Justice Mishra Madam agree with me.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Important,
very much.
we cannot demand. I receive letters from every day from the student. We want exam. We want a pass without exam. A student carrying 30, 40 papers wants to pass the exam without writing the exam. As a final year student, maybe we may consider because it's losing an academic year or a practice at the bar, something we may consider. But we cannot consider all. You cannot clear papers, 25 papers, and you want to pass the exam. What type of practice? Then we will go into court of law. And the legal institutions have to give more practical, compact training. Unfortunately, in India, the Bar Council of India, our mentor, is collecting huge fees on the name of inspections and on the name of various regulations, but it is not giving any assistance to the universities or the law colleges. This is an unfortunate situation. Compared to American Bar Council or Australian Bar Council or British Bar Council, where they give a lot of mentoring, training, this, that, various aspects. Only good thing that the Bar Council did by half plate was recognizing All India Reporter as one of the portals to train. And I'm the first Vice Chancellor daringly started a AER virtual cafe, 24 round the clock, 24/7, that the student can have the mobile access to all the materials, judgments and everything on the mobile app. I hope my students enjoyed it because that gives you a lot of flexibility. Even in the classroom, I found that the technology is very useful because when you are dealing a particular section, suppose the Supreme Court or a High Court is dealing with a case, then you can on it and see, and you can immediately, or the next day, you can tell the student the latest case law. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say this, I'm not criticizing anybody. Honorable judges are very busy, I agree. But nowadays, I'm happy many of the judges are coming. But at least once in a fortnight or something, the honorable judges should come forward to address the students in more practical perspectives. Because in India, law teachers are not allowed to do practice. Thanks to Bar Council of India's rigid rule. We don't have practical experience. Then where from we get practical experience? Senior advocates can't come because they say they are busy with the claims. Judges are also busy. I don't say judges are not busy. But after retirement, of course, of late, many judges started coming. The judges should come forward and spend at least a semester with the students in the campus, so that the teachers also will get motivated. How do we go for the practical way of teaching law? Teaching, because in the interdisciplinary era, the new education policy is now aimed by the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is an excellent policy. If it is implemented the way it is advocated, it will be. But implementing the policy without addressing the problems, it will not. It will be a failure. Definitely a failure. First, address the problems that are there in the universities and the law colleges or whatever it may be. Then address the new education policy. It will be an excellent policy, giving. But what I mean to say is that conducting moot court competition to the students. I experimented in Pune for about 3 years. Unfortunately, there was no patronization either from the colleges or from the universities or from the academicians. The postgraduate moot court competition, 3 years I conducted, but there was no patronage. Even in the world, nowhere I see postgraduate moot court competition. What is wrong conducting a postgraduate moot court competition at the higher level, where honorable judges and others can sit and do training in this specialization? Because in post-graduation, a student will be more specialized either in constitution or international than in undergraduation, where you study 50, 60 subjects. And 21 subjects mandatory, and specialization subjects 8, and non-law subjects about 20. So is of no use. Unfortunately, Bar Council of India is 2019, which they are going to implement. I have written a long article. Bar Council is not happy with me, but criticizing. But do 58 papers to study. Give the student more time to go to the court. Nowadays, virtual court is there. More practical perspectives, more practical orientation. Teach the important papers like CPC, CRPC, Constitution, which are the important papers. Other papers, when a student joins the profession, he will join into the profession and select the area which he wants to specialize. There he will study, because it's the truth. Even we study 58 papers, when we go to the senior council to join in the profession, first thing that the senior council asks, what is this section? Immediately the student will say, I don't know. This is the answer, except for 5% students, 95% of the students will give this answer only. Then what is the point of studying 58 papers in 5 years? Give 3 years vigorous coaching like America or anywhere, and give continuous mentoring, working with the judges, working with the lawyers, and conducting more of a competitive perspective that will develop. Because the moot courts, what I observe in many of the moot courts is, the students come prepared with some mentoring only to the particular perspective, how to win the competition, how to get the certificate, how I should project that I got the certificate for my institute. This should not be there. It should be more to present your viewpoint to the court. When the judges ask the questions, last week I was conducting an international moot court competition. When we asked a question, the student council was not in a position to understand what the question the judge is asking. Nowadays, the biggest drama is if you don't understand, because it is virtual, sir, I didn't get connectivity what you asked me. An excellent escape route. It's unfortunate. We should not do, because legal profession is one of the best professions, I tell you. It is the most, particularly after COVID-19, in the economic globalized world, we need legal profession with legislative aspects like international law. Unfortunately, many students doesn't study in India, private international law. International, this settlement of disputes, that is arbitration mediation, should be studied with the international private law perspective. You will be respected everywhere. These are the aspects which are required, and for which I think the moot court competitions need to be reoriented. I specially request the law internships that don't call just any student whoever registers, give particular dimension that you should focus on what. With, of course, in moot court, moot proposal, you write the footnote and others for the award to say. Nowadays, the honorable judges of the Supreme Court started writing the footnoting. Footnoting is very important. Research is very important. Even I propose, I hope Madam Justice Misra agree with me that the Bar Council, of course, is reluctant. Lawyers may be reluctant. Like American lawyers, American Bar Council, where every 2 years, the young lawyers also should be asked to go back to the university to study 6 months the updated perspectives and share their knowledge with their students and mentoring. Because in alumni is the most important perspective that play a role. In India, no alumni member pays even 1 rupee to university. In fact, it's a surprising thing. My own university students have gone to the court. The case is pending before the Honorable High Court of Madras that reduce the fees. How university will survive? And you only not got COVID, we also got COVID. But university has to maintain. University has to continue its work. Instead of, if you see in abroad, the alumni contributes to the university. Here, the other way around, we demand from the university, you give me everything free. Thanks to our political parties, everything is free. Muft, because of vote bank politics. That has spoiled the culture of the country. Otherwise, we have a rich bar, rich bench. But unfortunately, the bar and the bench are in doldrums. I don't blame the bar and bench. I blame the academics, the teachers. We have to get good training. We have to dedicated teaching, dedicated perspective. That can come only when practical perspectives are inculcated than teaching 58, 60 papers in 5 years. And I hope keeping this in mind, with the future changes that are coming for the COVID-19, the moot competition is a very good exercise. There is no doubt, but don't be on a winning note. It's not the question of winning or losing. It doesn't matter how you performed, because many times we judges doesn't discuss the winner and the loser. Student participants, please observe this point. We don't bother about winning or losing. Which team won? We forget. We announce the result and we go and we forget. But a student who presents well, he will be pushed always in the mind of the teachers, and they say that boy, has presented very well. We have to ask the sponsors, and there is a spark. That boy should be trained very well. That girl should be trained very well. This is very often the truth perspective that prevails in the minds of the judges. And the winners and losers are assessing the students. The teachers or even the judges or the lawyers, I all put together, I coined as justice workers. We are all justice workers. Our duty is to protect justice at any cost. So justice need to be done as per the preambular perspective. Not only seems to be done, needs to be done to achieve social justice. With that perspective, I think I'm extremely happy that during the pandemic situation, virtual moot courts have been started. But I still request the law internship, Divya and Abhishek and others, not only this moot court competition, you can have more debate competitions, or you can have client counseling, virtual client counseling. That would be more prudent for the students and attract the students to the field of law and the legal profession. With these few words, I thank you one and all. I wish the internships will progress further, and I wish all the participants all the best, whomsoever it may be, the winner or loser. Don't worry about the winning or losing, but think of what you could do or what you present yourself is the best point of view. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for gracing the event with your inspiring words. It really means a lot. Your words and blessings always means a lot, sir. So now I am coming to the much awaited part of the valedictory ceremony, the declaration of results.
Before that, I would like to request ma'am to.
Yeah. Okay.
Viewers,
Fine.
I would like to introduce Honorable Justice Ms. Gyanshada Mishra, ma'am. Ma'am got herself enrolled as an advocate in the Bihar State Bar Council of India in November 1972. Ma'am was appointed a government advocate for the state of Bihar in the year 1982 to represent its cases in the Supreme Court. As an advocate, prior to her elevation, Justice Ma'am had been appointed as a member of the fact-finding committee constituted by the Supreme Court of India in the year 1991 in the matter of Bandhu Mukti Morcha case. Justice Mishra was also actively associated with the activities of the lawyers and the legal profession, and hence was elected as a treasurer, joint secretary, and member executive committee of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Ma'am had also been an office bearer in several international and national voluntary organizations prior to her elevation as a judge, including the Asia Pacific Lawyers Association and other philanthropic organizations. In recognition of her services and standing as a lawyer for more than 21 years, she was appointed a judge of Patna High Court in the state of Bihar on 16th March 1994. She was thereafter transferred to the High Court of Rajasthan. While functioning as a judge of the state of Rajasthan, Ma'am held several important assignments as company judge, judge of arbitration matters, constitutional matters, and was also appointed and continued as chairman of the advisory board constituted under the National Security Act. In 1998, she also represented India as a guest speaker in the conference of the International Association of Women Judges held in Canada, where a variety of issues relating to women and children in the world at large were addressed. After 14 years of successful tenure as a judge of High Court of Rajasthan, Ma'am was elevated as a Chief Justice of the Jharkhand High Court at Ranchi in the state of Jharkhand on 13th of July 2008. Ma'am was further elevated as the Justice Supreme Court of India from 30th March 2010 to 27th March of 2014. It is a privilege to have you amongst us, ma'am. We welcome you. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, you will have to unmute.
Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Okay. So I said, are you going to hold the this declaration ceremony of the winners, or you want me to first of all speak to you all?
We will want you to speak to us, ma'am, definitely.
Okay. So the eminent Vice Chancellor, Professor Shastri, the vibrant participants, and all the more vibrant organizers of this very specially named law interns for online portal, which I'm told. First of all, I thank you for persuading me to participate in this today's valedictory session. And before I say something, I would first of all express that, it's always a pleasure to associate myself with any activity which has to do with any academic institution. And in that capacity and my passion, I had very many opportunities to personally interact with the law students and law universities. But in these days, most of the time we are in front of the virtual, I won't say background, but front ground, where we are, all the activities have got merged and shrinked into a capsule of Square Box, the online portal where we have to participate. In that sense, you know, although it's a very good opportunity to enlarge our canvas and participate in many more universities that you could physically do. And as Dr. Shastri rightly said, you know, many a times it was not possible to participate and include yourself by traveling to all the places. So in that sense, it has been a blessing in disguise. And I'm happy that your vision has given you an insight to organize this portal called Law Interns. And it's a great opportunity for the law learners to associate themselves, something to do with the moot court competitions. Moot court competitions, as you are all aware, and you must be more aware, that it has been, you know, been included. I'm not too sure whether in the curriculum, but moot court competitions, first of all, little did I know that when I would be a judge in a moot court competition as an advocate in University of Delhi long ago, little did I know that my moot court competition is really going to help me, not only a moot court, but actual court proceedings as a judge also. So my memory lane pushes me back to those days. And that was and I mention it because that was the first experience which I had, you know, which I could, you know, participate uh, as a, as an advocate, and was literally a mock judge for a moot court competition. And since then, you know, I've always felt that for any student who has a passion to adopt litigation side as litigation side of the lawyerism, I would say, because those were the days when, if you're a lawyer, most of the time you were supposed to, like, you were expected to be only in the law courts in front of the judges arguing. But now I'm happy that you have many more dimensions. You can, you know, you go for even the law firms if you are not really, you don't have a really to, you don't feel inclined to go before the judges, then you have the law firms, and then you have the judicial services. And then I'm only categorizing into three broad categories. The third option is the litigation. And in my experience, when a law student, first of all, feels attracted to the profession, it is basically the litigation. When you are, you know, holding up cudgels for your work, and you are arguing before a judge, that gives the utmost satisfaction, and the young mind generally gets attracted to the legal profession, that they are arguing before the judges. And that, of course, has a lot of opportunities if you are interested in getting yourself elevated. Then the litigation side is the only way out. Many times I keep hearing, especially from the young students, that I want to become a judge. Of course, if you are in the subordinate judiciary, you go for a written examination and then interviews, etc. But when you are getting selected for the higher judiciary in the High Court and thereafter in the Supreme Court, it is, I always, you know, say that, of course, the constitutional, you know, mandate is there that you need to have minimum 10 years of practice to become a High Court judge, and thereafter, as per your seniority and merit, to the Supreme Court. But then how to get attracted and how to get, nominated by the collegium to get elevated as a judge of the High Court, because mostly, of course, 2-3% are, getting elevated to the Supreme Court directly from the bar in the Supreme Court. I'm generally touching these areas because these are the not very well informed areas for students. Of course, the knowledge bank is very much, packed with knowledge these days. But many a times, these are very elementary things which with the young students are not aware. So one part is the lower judiciary. I won't say lower judiciary, it is the foundation judiciary as a civil judge junior division. Thereafter, if you practice 7 years as a lawyer, then you can directly get appointed as an additional district judge. You are posted in a particular district, and fortunately, if All India Judicial Services exam comes in, then you can, it is all over the India, you can compete with one examination. These days, the students might be aware that it is the state judiciary. From, if you want to join the higher judiciary, the students, not very many students are aware that subordinate judiciary also has two wings. One is the where you are appointed as a civil judge, junior judge, like when you become judicial magistrate, and then by promotion you become a district judge. But there are two ways where you can straight away get appointed as a district judge if you put in 7 years of practice as a lawyer. Then and there are vacancies which are advertised, you can get yourself directly appointed as a senior judge or in the district, like additional district judge. And then there's a like some vacancies are allotted to be appointed by promotion, and and some percentage of the vacancies are the direct appointees, and they have greater chances by virtue of their merit and seniority, they might get elevated to the High Court. So if you have a passion to be a judge from the bottom line, or from the directly from the subordinate to the High Court, that's the channel. But if you want to be elevated as a judge of the High Court, and when sometimes a sure short formula are being put, questions are put to me by a young lawyer and youngsters, that how do I want to become a High Court judge, but how do I get elevated? And I said, I have just one answer. It is an open question. It's like a performance doing in a film land, where your performance is watched by so many, and if you're able to catch attention of the judges who are in the collegium system, which is a selection committee, you are bound to catch attention of the judges. And if they see that you have a little bit of all qualities, like if you have the analytical ability, if you have the reasoning skill, if you also have to the ability to express what you have thought, and and last of all, the ability to convince the judge, then your job is done. Of course, there are very many aberrations into the system that has come in, because I'm emphasizing this part relating to the moot court, because that litigation side, if you're able to catch the attention of a judge, I think at least your 60% work is over, and you are bound, if you want to be elevated, then most of your work is done. And in that sense, your delivery skill, your analytical ability, your able to convince, these are these skills, if you start right from the beginning, either as a debater or having participated in moot court, the value of moot courts are tremendous, are are exceedingly, it's an excellent way of learning and gaining confidence to plunge into the litigation side. So if you and forget about elevation, like if you are able to catch the attention of the bar where bar where you are practicing, of the lawyers and the litigations, you'll have no dearth of work, because litigation, I have always felt that many times a lot of negative also the lawyers that of course we have come from very good law schools, we have heard it, but how to get work, so that of course I would have to make an honest confession that that's like plunging into the sea or a river and to learn the swimming. But in a, I don't know if how many of you understand Hindi. There's a saying there's a couplet in Hindi. Jin dhoonda tin paiya, gehre pani pet, jo bora du bandara, raha kinare pet. Which means that if you want to take the plunge, you are bound to learn the swimming, and gradually you are going to come out victorious. But if you keep on fearing the water, then you will always be at the bank, sitting at the bank, and not getting much success. So first of all is the ability of confidence. Number two, the ability to deliver. And the ability to deliver, ability to attract people where no one can afford to ignore you. And if you're not able to ignore, then you are bound to have at least fair amount of success in the profession, either as a good lawyer, or maybe if you are interested in the judgeship, then the offer might come to you for elevation also. And why I am broaching this subject, I tell you, because these days, there's a lobby culture also, even in the youngsters, just running around the senior lawyers and having good rapport with the judges, and they think they can do it. And once they do it 10 years, maybe there are some very many lucky ones who don't, accept the judgeship offers, but most of them are interested in getting, if they get a chance, they would very much want to get elevated. And they have an expectation. I'm saying this sharing this from my experience. As a sitting judge, no one would dare and come to me and say ki mere ko aap judge banwa do. But as a former judge, they think, ma'am, mere liye bhi kuch sochiye, I have put in so many years of practice. And I appreciate their enthusiasm and their zeal to serve the institution. But and they have complaints also. So and so is a favorite, because you might have going in, learn so many things from the media itself. There is so much of partisanship, there is so much of this, that. And I keep telling them that if just one single advice I would let you, God helps those who help themselves. If and I tease them at times. अगर मैंने आपका नाम चीफ जस्टिस से चर्चा की फॉर योर एलिवेशन, आपको पहचानते तो है ना? And you feel shy. पहचानते तो होंगे, मैं बहुत बार अपीयर होता हूँ. That is, where your talent comes in, comes to your rescue, comes to the students and the aspirants' rescue. Here is your goal. You have to reach that goal. Let no one ignore you. And in that sense, litigation is a very, that way it's slightly easy. That if you argue well, if you perform well, if no one can, ignore you, you will have at least your 75%, you'll have a cakewalk. 25%, of course, there might be aberrations in the system. So let me not, bother the young minds about them, because they might feel frustrated also, because this collegium system is a talk of much debate these days. And I don't want to do, but for a young, impressionable mind, they must focus in building up their advocacy skills. their skills of reasoning, their skills of logic, like how to establish yourself. This is, and in that sense, the role of moot courts are tremendous, tremendous. Having said that, I want to add, you see, because as I said, I have attended very many moot court competitions also, even in, I think, no place is now left for my visit. for the for very, and I love it, I love it, and I have a passion. It's only that, sometimes because time, or at times you get too saturated with so many webinars these days. That is why, you feel shy. Arey, mere ko chodo, I have done it enough. So but what I'm saying is that in spite of so many two moot court competitions which in the universities and the classes are here in the university held, I have noticed that very small percentage of students get that opportunity. I don't know, because the Professor Shastri and many other academicians in this would be able to know what is the reason behind this. Either the students are shy of participating, or they are shy of performing publicly. I don't know. But I have noticed that in institutions, it's a very small percentage of students who get an opportunity to participate. Those who are, outgoing kind, I would say, or they are very active, etc., then they get an opportunity to participate. I think the institutions and the universities can have, small little competitions. You need not have a formal ceremonial moot court competition, but you can generate that those who are, and convince and tell the students that if you have a passion to go in for litigation, you must participate. If you don't have, if your area of interest is different, like, more into writing skills, if you want, then you might go in for the firm jobs, or you might go in for the competitive exams for the judicial services, etc. But if you want a career in litigation, if you want to go in for a higher judiciary, then catching attention is very important. And catching attention is by your performance, because you don't argue in a parda. It's actually, these days, of course, slightly it is in parda, because these virtual, I don't know how much of it is, people are able to participate and see the performance. But in the normal days, anyone can get passes and can watch the performance. In that sense, visiting of court, watching the performance of good lawyers should be made a part of the curriculum at every level. Let them, in the first year they can just go and visit the court. In the second year, they can watch the proceeding. Maybe a month or so. Because these days I find, these internships is catching up a lot. They are most of the time wanting to have an internship 2-3 months, etc., in the law courses. But that also, that's valuable to learn how the judgments are written, then how to make synopsis, how to get to the point. That also has its own value. I'm not, undermining that, but at the same time, that moot court, or maybe you can, skill building courses, I would say, it can be thrown up as an optional and as a special paper also, where the students, like what I'm trying to emphasize, that all students who are there, especially in a good institution, they all must have opportunity. That must not be confined to a few individual students where they participate. It must be broad based too, because I keep saying, like, what is the difference when you study in a so-called, brand value elite universities, Ivy League universities? What is there? The level of confidence is different. If in that sense, that is how, why they say, of course, if you, what they say is that if you come, please excuse me for saying this, supposing you have come from, I won't say family, but from an environment, you are very much exposed to the profession, whether it's a doctor's profession, lawyer's profession, musician's profession, where you get exposed to the special skills by virtue of your observation in the at the place where you are brought up. But it's not that everybody gets. These days only, why only this opportunity should be confined to a few individuals. So my point to emphasize is that the value of moot courts is tremendous. At least I feel that, and I also agree with Professor Shastri that the judges must associate themselves with the academic activities. And speaking for myself, and I have seen very many judges are also interested in interacting with the students. And if they interact with judges, if they interact with the judges of the higher judiciary, then their shyness, their confidence level goes way ahead of what they have learned. What is if somebody has interacted at the in the age of 50 plus or 60 plus, and if you interact at a much lower level, but yes, interaction should not allow you to take people for granted, because there's a danger also. If you interact too much, you become overconfident, and maybe you can take experience for granted. So balance has to be there in that sense. And next thing, whenever I get an opportunity to this academicians group or community, whatever you call it, this National Judicial Academy in Bhopal, which is confined only to the judges training and the sitting judges and the sitting judicial officers, it must be made open even to the students at least once in a while. And I've been advocating for quite a long time that this is such a beautiful institute. Why is it so claustrophobic that it is confined only to the trainees? And I know it's an elite, but I don't know. But generally, there is a conservative attitude not to allow, institutions come in. Like if one can go to the parliament and watch the proceeding, what is wrong if the National Judicial Academy also has a visitors gallery, and the students can watch that these are the sitting judges, these are, they also, if they come into the litigation, then they take 10 years at least to watch that. But if you get an opportunity, so in my humble opinion, I feel that this this exposure of the students to a variety of institutions and a variety of experiences, they should be exposed to it. And moot court, as I said, I keep repeating that what is moot court? Moot court is a case law. I don't know what were the case laws given in this competition, but in case laws, you read it, then you present the facts, then you present the arguments, and as the Vice Chancellors have rightly said, we are no one is bothered about the result of the case. No one is bothered about who has won and who has succeeded. In the process, what is the learning quotient that the student has earned? That is what is important. So in that sense, I would not take more time on this, but I hail that this law interns you have formed, especially in this pandemic time. You are not letting the students lie low on this, and you are contributing your own way in the law learners, devotion to the law learners activity. And in that way, would suggest that more and more students, especially who have a inclination towards the litigation side, must be encouraged to participate in the moot court competitions. And the underlining is, make it broad based. Let it not be confined to 5, 6, 10 or 25 students. One is a national, this I guess is a national moot court competition. But you can have it year-wise also. Maybe not in the initial 2 years, but at least in from third year, you can start having within the within that particular batch or etc., so that everyone gets gets a particular level of confidence to equip himself or herself to deliver in future if they want to pursue their dream. I would not, I would like to conclude by giving you my wishes and my blessings for a great future. Contribute more and more and keep doing your bit. Success will follow you. All the best and heartiest blessings. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your inspiring words. It really means a lot. It's a great source of invigoration and motivation. Now we are coming to the much awaited moment of this valedictory ceremony. All the participants are full of enthusiasm and curiosity to know the results. I can understand that. I can pulse that. So now I would request my mentor, Professor Dr. T.S.N. Sastry, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, to kindly announce the results for the best speaker, best researcher, and the best memorial award of the National Virtual Moot Court Competition 2020. Sir, please.
Well, the best speaker is Speaker 2 of Team 26. The best researcher award goes to Team 21. The best memorial award goes to Team 25.
Congratulations, team.
Congratulations, congratulations. The best speaker award goes to Speaker 1, Team 26. Best researcher award goes to Team 21. Best memorial award goes to Team 25. Congratulations to all the winners.
We're missing the claps these days, but sound is fortunately, so I would clap for the winners.
So, Team 26, the speaker 1 of Team 26 who bagged the Best Speaker Award is Ms. Anjana Rajeshri from OP Jindal Global University. And the Best Researcher from Team 21 is backed by Vaijayanti from School of Law, Shastra University, Trichy. And the Best Memorial is backed by Team 25, which is the Chanakya National Law University.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all of them.
Congratulations to winners.
And a pat on their back.
Congratulations to the winners.
Moving
And
forward,
the runners and winners?
sir? Yes.
The runners and
The runners and winners of the National Virtual Moot Court Competition, I would like to request Honorable Justice Ms. Gyansudha Mishra ma'am to do the honors. Please, ma'am.
What is the actual part in this virtual mode? Do I have to garland them? Do I have to give them a virtual memento? What do I do?
Most of it.
Ma'am, you can greet.
Yeah, hello students, hello the winners. Congratulations to you once again.
If the winners are here, you can turn off your mic, unmute and speak.
Oh, it's muted. No, it's not unmute.
Yes, not you, ma'am. If the winners are here.
Can I get to see them?
Winners, you can unmute and you can talk. Winners, you can unmute your.
The chat box, they are saying hello, ma'am.
Oh, give my best wishes to all of them.
Definitely, ma'am.
And blessings, of course, I implied.
Ma'am, you can announce the runners and winners team now, team code.
Divya, you can
So let
Professor
Shastri do that. I will endorse it.
Shastri.
The runners-up is Team 26. The winners is Team 23. Congratulations to both the teams.
Congratulations to the runners and winners.
So the runners-up by Team 26 is backed by OP Jindal Global University, And team 23 is the DES Shri Naval Mal Firdausis Law College, Pune.
Navalmal Virodhiya Law College. Okay. You can ask the winners and runners at least to access.
Winners and runners, if you are here, they are putting it in the chat box, sir. They are thanking.
Yeah, I saw the message from Rahul.
Yeah.
Anushka, Rahul.
Anishka Chakravarti. Rahul.
So this time again, girls are more in number.
Yes, ma'am.
And can I interrupt
I think
and share
nowadays more
something?
girls are seen than boys in the legal
That,
education.
Dr. Shastri, many a times a
Yes,
question is put to me that girls, whenever they are in the competition, writing competition or verbal competitions, etc., they do excel. Why is it that there are such few in the High Court and the Supreme Court?
I think you're in a better position to answer.
Today I hope most of our girls must be highly influenced and might be motivated by you, ma'am. Get into the field and get on the
Yeah, sure. I wish them a great future, and they are small little tips that I've given. No one can stop them. They really have a passion.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Lage raho. And yes, please go ahead.
Any few words by Gyansudha Mishra ma'am? Any few words by Shastri sir? Last few words to the participants, to the students community.
Over to you, Dr. Shastri. I will follow you.
Yes, we wish to all the best to all the participants, as I told you. But winning the MOOC, I don't know which year they are, whatever it may be, because it's been not told to us which year students they are. Whatever it may be, I tell you one important thing, which Honorable former Chief Justice of India, who is no more now, Justice Ranganath Mishra, when he was taking classes to us in our final year LLB in Barampur University, Orissa, Justice Mishra used to tell us always one thing. Don't think of, because the question that they asked Madam Mishra, that why many women are not there. And nowadays, if you see in the high courts, I think there are a good number of women judges already coming. And the reason why many women judges doesn't come in is I think that once they settle in profession and practice, many women are reluctant to go as high court judges nowadays because there is a chance of transfer from your home and separation from your husband and family. There's one reason I found many lawyers saying that, women lawyers, top lawyers, that, and another reason is that why many doesn't come is that, that judge you are more close to a circle that you are not allowed in India to mingle with. This is very bad. Like in America or other where you are free to move anywhere. Here the judge moves also. People castigate many things and many women doesn't like that freedom to lose. Because once you are in a justice department, you will be more attached to the court and the judgments and others, will not be able to concentrate. I may be wrong, but this is what some of the female lawyers whom I interacted, they told me that you don't have much time to spend with the family, which we don't want to miss. That was one reason. I'm not saying that men are enjoying. Maybe some people are interested to go. I want to see more women judges, definitely. In the whole world, even in American Supreme Court, only 1 or 2 female judges are there out of 9. In the whole entire history, if we see, at no point of time, 50% of the judges are there. In fact, we could see a female Chief Justice of India. I think India should produce that because we are the second country and we are the largest country which produces the first female Prime Minister and first female President of India, which even America could not produce a female president, but we could produce a female president. And I hope to see that more will come. And my key advice is to you, what Justice Ranganath Mishra told us is that it is not the book that you read is immaterial. It is the presentation and the style of law that you learn between the words and read a reverse reading of law is more important. And if that is being cultivated, I think we can have again regain the topmost acclaim to judicial profession. And that needs to be nurtured. I blame the law teachers, not anybody else. Because the teachers should be committed to teach law in a critical fashion than thinking that I completed the syllabus. You should complete the syllabus. The student will read what is there in the book. But give a critical input of the topic in an overall perspective, and for which the students should be ready and be taught and prepared. And for that, I advocate nowadays cluster teaching, cluster grouping, cluster interaction. These three are important. If that is being built in, students also in the library, instead of spending on the net for in the Google what is there, when you write the assignment, we see mostly cut and paste. Instead of cut and paste, take a single judgment, a simple judgment, read what the case is, what the judges observed, what the language was, the phonetic perspective that the judges have presented in the case, and they draw the analogy and analysis before arriving in their order. That if it is cultivated, definitely the future students will win. And many women, I'm very happy because once upon a time many girls were not taking law course, but today it is, because in my university, out of 7,000 students in the campus, which no university, maybe after Delhi University, we are the second Ambedkar line in the campus. I'm talking, not my affiliated colleges. We have 6,000 to 7,000 students in the campus, and I see 4,000 girls studying law. This is a very tremendous change. 4,000 students studying law, girl students. Females, in fact, in some classes, I think in Castro's class, out of 60, 50 are girls, only 10 are boys. I could see that. The change is visible, the change is coming. But the women lawyers should take more bent of a mind to come to the bench to serve and do that, and that will fill the gap between the whatever the gender justice perspective that people advocate. But in human rights, I won't accept there is no gender justice. Gender means both, includes gender in human rights. It is not women alone. Woman-centric cannot be called gender in, there is a third gender also in human rights. So gender is a very holistic concept in human rights. You cannot, but unfortunately we do. And another thing also, I request honorable judges of the Supreme Court at least to cultivate. Let us not use the phraseology, wrong phraseology like central government. I don't know where from this word central government has come. The Constitution of India says Union of India. Unfortunately, even in Supreme Court, we see central government in the judgments. Central government, so right nomenclature perspective should be brought in to correct the perspective, because many of the judicial pronouncements we see central, because the parties advocates like the judges use. I don't blame them, but the judges should take the lead and tell them, don't use central government, a word which is not there in the Constitution. It is a union government. And that type of perspective can take place. I think more, the question that you have asked, madam, is that more women students should show more focus to come to the bench perspective and learn the critical thinking that is required for a judge. Apart from lawyers, of course, lawyers argue their case from one side, but the judge has to listen to both sides and come out an analogy between the law, fact, and the justice perspective. Three angles the judge has to. For that perspective, if women take a lead, I think we can see more women judges soon. This is what, and I wish you all the best once again.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, few words from you.
See, I think you know, I have I think I have expressed all that I had to say, but would like to add. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So what I was saying is that I have expressed more whatever I had to say, the value of moot courts in shaping up your advocacy skills. But having said that, I would like to add that this I don't know whether Dr. Shastri would relish my saying this, because but I would respectfully disagree that not when many women are interested to take up the assignment as a judge, because I tell you, first of all, forget about the judgeship. First of all, I would say that there is absolute gender parity insofar as the education of law course is concerned. All the girls and all the boys are equally given the opportunity to equip themselves with the knowledge and skill of the legal profession. In that sense, there's absolutely no discrimination. There's absolutely no discrimination so far as your writing and judging your ability and getting success through competitive exams is concerned. There's absolutely, I agree that, this constitutional Article 14 is fully implemented. But I have, I do have a feeling that the discrimination may be a human right, but the discrimination in the mind, I think we have to still travel a lot about the performance or the use of the skills and knowledge of the feminine gender. See, a lady lawyer who has put in, it's not that an average, it's not less than 15 or 20 years before a woman lawyer is given the option to get herself elevated. So, but if she has taken the profession very seriously for 15, 20 years, it's not that some research may be done. How many women have declined to accept judgeship? In my experience, I think it's a myth that they have declined. They have not. Rather, the offer to women judges, what I'm trying to emphasize here through this platform is that let it not be judged. A woman lawyer's ability should not be judged a man vis-a-vis a woman. It should be judged whether she is capable or not, whether she is capable to like why should there be why should there be a different standard for a man in an open competition where where perception, basically the perception which rules when a selection for elevation is done. So if you say that if you are a woman lawyer, then your skills your skills can be compromised. No, not that. But there is also that if equally capable and then you should not be estimated that woman. And I am saying this from experience that perception, at least there was that it is still there in the society. Like I have, I think it will take another session to talk about the gender discrimination in the judiciary, because there is no, I would give full credit to the subordinate judiciary where they are selected in every way. But when you are a chief justice, when you are going to the Supreme Court, equal treatment should be meted out to women. And the collegium judges should ask themselves whether they are, whether they equally put the same yardstick. Or I'm not saying that they are not putting, please don't misunderstand and misquote me. It's not that I'm doubting anyone's intention, but there's some some biased society is still there. Forget about the masses. You read the memoir of former Chief Justice of Himachal, who is no more, Justice Leela Seth. She said, they couldn't, in Himachal, they couldn't understand, or they couldn't accept a woman as a Chief Justice. When I was in Jharkhand, when I don't know whether I should be sharing some of my personal experience. I was eligible. Please, this Jharkhand, of course, I had a very good opportunity to express my administrative skills as a judge. But you are chosen. Fortunately, it's going. As Professor Sadi there, I agree that it's gradually going. Now we have had Chief Justice of a Chartered High Court also as women judges. In the Supreme Court also, they have been elevated. But bias is there, I don't know, because I feel very conscious whether to from my personal experience or not. Because I was eligible as per my seniority to be elevated to a bigger high court. I can't help it if there is discrimination in what I'm saying is, but why women judges were treated as Chief Justice, or rather elevated as Chief Justice only for a smaller high court where there are only 10 judges or 5 judges, or their strength is only 10 judges. And I will not name, one of my members of the collegian say, I was a little upset. Why have you chosen me as the Chief Justice of Jharkhand High Court? Because I am eligible for a bigger High Court. Why? So I was put this question. Why do you have a fancy for opting other High Courts? I said, no, I don't take. I take it as a good challenge that Jharkhand I welcome, because it's an upcoming state and I will be able to some High Courts. But what I'm trying to emphasize is that discrimination in the mind should go when you choose a woman for an offbeat profession. Before concluding, I would share one of my experience when I was Chief Justice in Jharkhand, and there was a complaint about a district judge in a district, and I was about to transfer him elsewhere. But one common person, like member of the masses, he expressed his pent up feelings that, ma'am, you are not doing this, but do you know what people think about you? I said, what is that? He said, there's a saying in Laharni se ki gaach katala, means like those barbers in the old days, they were keeping for nail cutting. They had one small gadget, which in the northern India it's called Laharni. I don't know what is called on the other side of the country. So they said, because you are a woman Chief Justice, you are like a Laharni, that nail cutter, and you cannot cut a tree. You cannot cut such a tree by that Laharni. So if you are a Chief Justice also, so what? And my instructions were undermined. I have become, over the years, I have become a bit aggressive in what I say. And I said, oh, so even if I am the Chief Justice, you are not going to obey my orders. I had these experience from some of the registrars. So let this mindset be eradicated. But I would also say that women also should not have a tendency to be coy and take the, they must shed themselves of the pampering. They must prove their skills. I would not suggest that you must be, you must expect some kind of a concession in where your ability is concerned. So, and if the ability, then the responsibility is all the more on the selectors, whether it be called to treat women on an even scale. Not why only women? I said, if a student has been less fortunate not to get the excellent education at the school level, at the college level, but by virtue, because many a times I saw, forget about the women, male lawyers, if they were not so very skillful in expressing themselves in the court, I noticed, the slightly, negative expression, negative smiles from the brother lawyers. Oh, look how he's arguing. Oh, look what. And I had to reprimand them. Look here, he comes from a he was not fortunate to have as good education as you have it, but he is doing well. Maybe his pronunciation, his language may not be as of course that's not to be condoned in the sense that one must try to have it as good as possible, but that doesn't give you a right to demoralize him. So what I'm trying to say is that even scale should be treated, whether it's a woman or even a male, or even males have a tough time in surviving in the litigation side, at least for the initial few years. So that is fortunately, these are the complaints for my fraternity, like, my fraternity means the judicial fraternity or the legal fraternity. Fortunately, this aberration is not there in the universities, in the academicians, or they have, they treat girls with an even scale, and they get the best of opportunity. If they get the best of opportunity, they must also prove themselves that they are no less to anyone else. So by now, I would like to give my best wishes and thank you once again for including me in this program. Looking forward to see you all again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank our chief guests of the valedictory ceremony for their wonderful address, because their address has given us a hope to face the profession or to face the academics, whatever the channel of path we are choosing to go in our life. Really, I want to thank our chief guests because we have learned a lot. I think this is the motivation from the academic, and then this is the motivation from the bench. The two has been joined today, and then this has given a good exposure, the great address to us, and it's a really great source of motivation for the young advocates, the budding lawyers, and then the future academicians, and then the future judges. So I would like to thank Honorable Justice Gyan Sudha Mishra ma'am, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, and my mentor, Professor Dr. T.S.N. Sastry sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, for gracing and felicitating this event in the midst of their busy schedule. I want to thank you all so much. And now I have to thank the law internships, our great guidance, Mr. Shubhang sir, and then Hina Jalan, and then Mrs. Simi Varghese madam. And then I want to thank Divya Jain, because Divya Jain has worked so hard for the past 4 days to coordinate and then to run up this wonderful national virtual moot court competition. And I want to thank the other student coordinators, firstly Riti Jindal, for her hard work, determination, and then the devotion and commitment to make this event a wonderful success. And I want to thank the students, coordinators of the organizing committee, and then the social media team. And then I want to thank Harshita, and then Nishita, Anjali, Sajal, Rashi, and then Manshi Srivastava, and everyone, and especially finally the participants. Participants must understand one thing: the success. If you are achieving the success, you will be leading. If you are facing the defeat, you will be guiding. So participants should take this lesson from this competitions. And I want to thank the participants. Even you're winning or losing, you have done a great step, and then you've got a great exposure. I want to thank you all, and we're ending the meeting. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. Thank you so much. The National Virtual Moot Court Competition of Law Internships is a scintillating, splendid success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
With your permission, I'm taking leave now.
Yes.